This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, hi Ram, hi Sudhir.
Hello, Mahesh.
So Ram and Sudhir, today we are what we are just going to see is we are just going to see project where we are just going to fetch the data from predefined SOAP services and the database and search it according to the destination parameter. So these three APIs which we are just going to create it today. So I'm just going to create a new Mule project and I'm just going to name it as a okay. I'm just naming this project as an flights 5 and creating it. So the flights project had been created over here, and here at the starting point, we are just going to fetch the data from the database and search it according to the destination parameter. Because since we had already seen this project, okay, previously regarding the database, so we are just going for it. I am just dragging and dropping the HTTP listener connector here at the starting point. So here under this HTTP listener connector, we are just going to create the HTTP listener configuration where it will be able to listen the request and display the response in the browser with the help of port number and end path. And I'm just naming the end path as in /American. Since we are fetching the data from the American Airlines, so I had named it as an American and I'm just using the get method in order to get the total data as our response. So it is still resolving the metadata over here. And now I'll just drag and drop the select connector from the database. Since we are just going to fetch the data from the database and we are just using the select operation in it. So I had just named it as an, so I had just dragged and dropped the select connector over here. And here I'm just going to pick the MySQL database configuration since I just want to connect to the MuleSoft database, and since the MuleSoft people are using the MySQL database connection. So I'm just connecting to the MySQL database connection in order to connect to the MuleSoft database here. MuleDB.mulesoft-training.com. 3306 is our port number. Mule is the username. Mule is the password. Training is the name of the database. So now I'm just going to configure the jar file over here. So still the metadata is not resolved yet. If I test my connection as well, it will take some time in order to resolve it. Here our test connection was successful. That means we are successfully able to connect it to the MuleSoft database over here. And I'm just going to click on OK. So here I'm just typing select star from American. And here I don't want to display these fields, whatever the fields we are getting it as our response, because whatever the three APIs we are just going to create here, for all those three APIs I just want similar data to be displayed as our response in order to make our application look professional. So I am just naming this as an flights. Already we had created a JSON file, right? So I'm just going to add the JSON file here into it. JSON example. So I just want to display the data in this format for the users, and I'm just selecting it. ID to ID, code 1 to code 2 to code 2 to code, airline name to airline, to airport to destination, from airport to origin, takeoff date to departure date, price to price, plane type to plane type, seats available to empty seats, total seats to total seats. So we had configured everything over here, and I'm just going to apply the logger. Under the logger, I'm just applying in fill. So let me run this project and check whether we are able to get the response in the expected format or not. So our project had been deployed over here, and we can move to the browser in order to check the response. Localhost colon 8081 slash American is our end path. So we just got the data in the expected format. So now, since we just need to search it according to the destination parameter over here, so where to airport equals to destination, and this destination value, I just want to call it by using query parameters. So this query parameters is, since this query parameters method is persisting under attributes, at the starting point I had called the attributes, and I'm just calling the query parameters and calling this destination parameter. Now if I request it without destination parameter, it will be showing the null payload for us. So we just need to request it by using this destination parameter, by using the query params, and we just got them as our response. Now what I just want to do, I don't want to call it directly from the input parameters here, and I just don't want to call it by using the destination parameter. So what I just want to do is, I just want to use the set variable connector here, and I just want to create a variable called dest, and this dest value I just want to call it dynamically by using attributes query parameters dot dest. And since we are just calling this parameter dynamically by using query params, so I just want to make this dest value is equals to the destination. So in order to do it, whatever the variable we had created, if I type control and space bar, we'll be getting vars dot dest. So whenever we are just calling this variable, okay, called dest by using the query parameters, since this dest parameter is equals to the destination and this destination is equals to the to airport, it will be able to fetch the total data based on the to airport and give it as our response. And in the end, by using this transform message connector, it will be able to transform the data. So let me move to the browser, and if I am requesting it according to destination parameter now, it will give the null payload for us. Why it is giving the null payload for us? Because whatever we are requesting is, we are requesting it according to dest parameter, not destination. So here we are able to get this data as our response. Any doubts in this? Sudhir, Radhika and Ram? Any doubts in it?
No, Mahesh.
Yeah, no, Mahesh.
So guys, if you are not having any doubts, yes, Ram.
No doubt. No doubt.
Okay, sure. So guys, if you're not having any doubts, so here there are predefined RESTful services. So here the RESTful services had been already created and those are predefined over here. So here by using this URL, how I am just going to call this data. I am just copying this URL and pasting it for you in the chat as well. So this is the predefined RESTful services URL. Okay. So here I am just dragging and dropping the HTTP listener connector. Just a moment, guys. Sorry. So here I am just dragging and dropping the HTTP listener connector here. And so here the end path I am just naming it as an slash flights United. Since we are fetching the United Airlines data over here, as you can check, the airline name is United. So that is the reason I'm just naming it as an United over here, just to identify it. And under the advanced, I just want to use the get method in order to get the total data as our response. And now, in the HTTP connectors, there is a request connector. So where this request connector is used to fetch the data from the predefined RESTful services by using the URL. So whenever we are moving for this any of the URL, how we are dividing that URL? So here ilt.learn.mulesoft.com is called as an host address. Essentials United is called as an base path, and this flights is called as an end path. Now since I just want to search it according to the destination parameter, now this SFO destination is called, this SFO is called as an end path, and this middle part is called as an base path, and the first one is called as an host address. So now in this connector configuration, we'll be having the host address base path over here. So what I am just doing is I am just separating these URLs, and by default the port number will be 80 for it. Okay, ilt.learn.mulesoft.com is an host address and the middle one is an base path. And I am just clicking on OK. We had successfully configured it. And we just need to use the get method in order to retrieve the total data as our response. As for now, just using slash in order to get the data. First, what I just want, whatever the data we are just getting here, this total data, I just want to get it as my response. And now I am just going to apply the logger here. At the starting point, let us check whether we are able to payload. So now let me check whether we are able to get the same response or not over here. Slash United. Yes, we are able to get the same response whatever we are fetching from the URL. Now, as we know, I don't want to display the response in this format for the users. I just want all these 3 APIs to be displayed as our response exactly in the same format. So I am just dragging and dropping this transform message connector over here. So whenever we are using this predefined RESTful services, it will not fetch the data automatically in the input metadata. So what we should do? So whatever the total data we just got it as our response, just type Control A, just select all and copy it. Just create a text file called united.json. .json extension is very important since whatever the file we are creating is in the JSON format. So I had already created this united.json file over there. Okay. So this is the one. So I just want to pick that file. In the input metadata, I'm just going for the define metadata and add an united file. I'm just naming this file name as an united here. And the file is in the JSON format and we are just picking them as an example. Local disk D. So this is the file. So whatever the data we are just getting here, this total data I'm just importing it here into the input metadata. And I'm just picking this file flights. So here we are just mapping it accordingly. Airline name to airline, price to price, departure date to departure date, plane type to plane type, origin to origin, code to code, empty seats to empty seats, destination to destination. So we had mapped them accordingly over there. And I'm just going to save it. After saving it, we are just moving to the browser in order to check the response, whether the response we are getting is in the expected format or not. Hence, we are getting the response in the expected format over here, as you can see. So now I just want to request it according to the destination parameter. So whenever we are just moving to the input parameters here, we had moved to the select connector and provided the input parameter. And now I am just moving to the request connector. So here, there are query parameters, URI parameters, in which we just need to provide. I just want to call it by using the query parameters. But whatever the URL we are using, this URL is based on URI parameters. So we cannot call any of the URL based on the URI parameters by using the query parameters. So here, plus, I just want to call this destination. And I am providing the direct value here at the starting point. Since we cannot call the query parameters into the URI parameters, so I am just requesting it exactly in this way. Only the SFO data. And in order to call any of the data by using the URI parameters dynamically, By using the curly braces, we just need to provide it, as we had already seen in the previous ones. So this destination I had provided it. Okay, saved it. Okay. So let me move to the browser and request it. So now we will be able to get only the SFO data as our response, since we had directly given the SFO value there. So now I just want to call it by using the query parameters. How can I do it? Previously we had used the set variable connector, right? Exactly in the same way, we can use the set variable connector here at the starting point and create a variable called test. And this test value, I just want to call it dynamically. Attributes dot query params dot test. So here, whatever the variable we had created, I am just naming vars dot test. So whenever we are just whatever the dest value we are calling it, since this dest value is equals to destination, and we are able to call all the data by using the URL, so we will be able to fetch the data by using the query parameters here. Now if we are requesting it according to United, it is saying destination is evaluated to null. So we must provide the destination parameter in order to get the response here. Dest equals to LX in this way. So any doubts in this API, Sudhir, Radhika and Ram?
No, Mahesh.
No?
Yeah, no, Mahesh.
So guys, can we go for next API? So exactly in the same way, there is a predefined SOAP services as well. So by using this URL, how we can fetch the data? I am just copying this URL and pasting it for you in the chats as well. I am just dragging and dropping the HTTP listener connector here. So this HTTP listener connector, I am just naming it as a Delta, since we are fetching the data from the Delta Airlines. And we are just using a get method in order to get the total data as our response over here. So there is a separate connector called web service consumer. So this web service consumer is used to call the predefined SOAP services. So at the starting point only, I said for you, whenever we are calling the RESTful services, we are calling it by using the HTTP protocol. So the predefined RESTful services, we had called it by using HTTP connector. So in order to call the SOAP services, we just need a WSDL location. So here the WSDL URL is provided for us, and the web service consumer connector is used to call the SOAP services by using the visitor location. So here under the connector configuration, if I just click on plus tab, if I just paste the URL, so the service port and address will be automatically loaded. It will take some time in order to load, like a minute or couple of minutes. So here I am just clicking on OK. So at the starting point, since I just want to fetch the total data, so find flights operation is nothing but where we are just going to search it according to the destination parameter. And list all flights is nothing but where we are just going to fetch the total data. So at the starting point, in the transform message, okay. So here, whatever the data which will be coming is in the XML format, and I just want to convert the payload into JSON and apply in the logger. So we had applied the payload in it, saved it, and let me check whether, okay, failed to deploy the artifact. Let me redeploy it again. Stop, let me run it again. So our project had been deployed over here, and we can move to the browser in order to check the response. Just a moment. Sorry for that. So here I am just requesting it according to the Delta Airlines. Got it as our response over here. So we just got the total data as our response over here. Now I just want to search it according to the destination parameter. So here, in order to search it according to the destination parameter, I can click on find flights operation. But here in the web service consumer option, there is no input parameters where we can provide it. And since I don't want to display the response in this format for the users, I just want all these three APIs in order to display it exactly in the same format. Airline, code, departure date, destination, empty seats, origin, plane type, price. Saved it. So we had transformed the data successfully. Now I am just using the set variable connector again, since there is no way we can provide the input parameters under the consume connector. So again, I am just using the set variable connector and creating a dest variable and calling this dest variable dynamically by using the query parameters. And since we are not having any way in order to make this dest value is equals to destination, I am just going to drag and drop another transform message connector. So whatever the variable we had created here will be on the left hand side. And since we had chosen the find flights operation is on the right hand side. So we are mapping it accordingly. That means whatever the dest value we had variable we had created, that is equals to destination. So whenever we are requesting it according to the dest variable, okay, since the dest variable is equals to the destination, and we are able to fetch the total data by using the destination parameter by using the URL, and we are able to transform the total data by using the transform message connector, will be able to display the response. Okay, so if I am requesting it according to Delta again, it is saying destination is invalid. So Delta LAX SFO, if I am naming it as an American, I'm just providing CLE. See here, American Airlines CLE data, we are getting it as our response. If I'm just choosing it as an United, data we are getting. So guys, are you having any doubts in these 3 APIs, whatever we had developed today? Sudhir, Radhika, Ram. Hello?
Mahesh,
Yes, Ram.
can you explain about this consume web service connector?
The consume connector is used to consume the data from the predefined SOAP services by using WSDL location. Here in the URL as well, as you can see, there is a WSDL, right? WSDL. So by using this location, it will be able to fetch the data. So when we are just pasted that URL under the web service consumer, automatically it had loaded the service port and address, and that's it. So based on the operations, we'll be able to fetch the data here. Ram, is it clear? Radhika, Sudhir, are you having any doubts? Yes, guys. Hello, Radhika and Sudhir, are you having any doubts?
Yeah, no Mahesh.
Sudhir? Okay, Sudhir is in offline, I guess. Okay, sure, guys. Tomorrow, how to integrate these 3 and get over all the data by using only one end path. Those all things by using the routers, applying the filters. Those all things we'll see it in tomorrow's session. Okay. So we'll meet tomorrow. Bye.
Okay, bye.